grid system. We will be designing our own grid system because I want you to think like a designer, have some basics of math and be able to design your own grid. Although CSS has already a powerful CSS grid framework embedded. Well, here we have one row and one column. Here's where we put our data. For example, we have 1704 pixels or centimeters. If you want to divide it into columns equally spaced and with the same width, we will have to define a gather which will be the margin between them. For example, is 66, and each individual item is going to have the width being equal to the row's width, which is 1704 minus this gather over 2, and you're gonna see that this will give you 819. Then you have to apply the margin to the right of the first element, which will give you this space, and its value must be the gather. Next, if you want to have one of 3, you have to take all the rows width, eliminate 2 times the gather that you have, and divide by 3. You're gonna have 524, and apply margin to the right of all the elements except the last one. When you want to talk about the 104, you have the same approach. You're gonna take all the entire width, eliminate 3 times the gather, and divide by 4. Finally, you're gonna apply the margin to the right of all the elements except to the last one. Things get more interesting when we talk about 2 of 3, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, and so on. For example, here we have 2 of 3. The width of a 2 of 3 element, if you wanna look with me, is simply equal to 2 pieces of 1 of 3 plus the gather. So this is simply joining this one, and the gather. Then you have a 2 of 3 element. A 2 of 4 is simply to have 1 of 4, and the gather all joined. Here you can see that the width of this is equal to this one. And 3 of 4 is simply to have 3 pieces of 1 of 4 and 2 gathers joined. So you have this one, and this one joined. So without further ado, let's see in code how we build this. All the elements are going to be placed inside of a row, so let's create a row here. Inside of our row, we're gonna have divs with the classes like column 1 of 2, which will represent one of that column. Here we have 2 of them. Then we are gonna be making the same row. Let's place, for example, column 1 of 3 right here, and let's simply duplicate of 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna be placing a row with column 1 of 4 right here, placing 2 of them, and here I'm gonna be placing 2 of 4. And I can simply duplicate this and put just one column 2 of 3 right here and eliminate this one. We're going to create a component which will be our grid. So let's grid.scss, and here we have to import in our components already exists at this file location. I don't know how we have it here, but let me remove, and I'm gonna be creating with you grid.scss, and let me come here to the components. I'm gonna be importing the grid and save. First, we have to define a width for our row. This time is gonna be max width because we want it to occupy the entire available space when the width is less than the one that we are going to define. In my variables, I gave you the grid width, which is 116 rem. Next, we're gonna define the margin 0 and auto left and right to make it centered. Let's start with the definition of the width for each of our items. For example, the column 1 of 2, what's going to be the width? We're going to be using the calculus function that exists here, and we know that this is going to be equal to 100% of the parent element minus the gather that we have defined, and it's already available in the variable list. So we use a variable, we have to use hash between curly braces, put the $sign right here, and write a variable name. This is gather horizontal, and we have to divide this result by 2. Here we have a width of one of the elements. Let's go to our browser and see if we have something right here. We don't have. That's fine, because we didn't give a specific height and a background to our elements so that we can see them. So let's select all that start with a class being equal to a column right here, because all our divs start with column, hyphen, and it goes on. What we are going to be giving is a background color of this, can be aqua, and we can give a height of 5 rem so that we can see what we do have. And let's go, let me save again right here, Windows 3, and okay, here everything is placed but with a bad visualization. Don't worry. What we have to do is make sure that every single div is floated to the left side. That's the first thing that we have to do. So let's float it to the left. And as you know, every time you make a float to the left of something, you have to clear the parents element using the clear fix hack. I'm going to be using the clear fix right here. In my mixin, I'm gonna be writing mixin clear fix. I'm gonna select what is after and say the content is gonna be nothing. The clear is gonna be both, and you're gonna display as table. Let's save and go back to the grid. Let's see how it looks like right now. Okay, here we have everything is floated to the left. Let's continue. And you can see that these two divs that have a predefined width, column 1 of 2, are already placed there. Here we have column 1 of 2. The rest of the divs don't show up because they don't have a width. What's missing here is the margin between them, which is the gutter. Where are we going to place? We're going to place on the right side of this first one. Fortunately, we can do that in CSS. What I'm gonna do is come here, say what's not the last child is gonna have a margin to the right side of that gather that we have defined. Gather horizontal. Let's save and see. Here we have. This is easy. Let's come here and say column 1 of 3. We have to eliminate 2 times the gather as we saw previously in theory and divide by 3. Let's save and see how it looks like. Here we have, and you are seeing here 1 of 3 showing up down because we have used it on the 3rd row, and the 2 of 3 is not showing up. Let me actually include a margin bottom to each row except the last one, because we don't want to have a margin to the bottom of this last one, but for the intermediate ones we do want. So let's come here and say Also, what's not the last child is gonna have a margin bottom. I have defined this in the variables list that I gave to you. Gather vertical. Let's save and see how it looks like. Okay, sometimes you have to save the main file, we know that, and we should see this already working. Margin bottom, we have this border, gather vertical, and it's all in our row. So let's see. Okay, here we do have. Nice. 104. We already know that we have to eliminate 3 times the gather and divide by 4. Let's save and see how it looks like. Okay, here we have 104, 104 showing up. That's nice. Now we can start giving for the column 2 of 3, for example. 2 of 3, we know that is the same to have 2 times the 1 of 3 plus the horizontal gather. So we have to say 2 times right here, 100% minus just 2 times the horizontal gather. We have to divide by 3 and add that horizontal gather, which is this one. So plus this. Let's save and see how it looks like. Oh, we don't have 2 of 3 right here. We should have the 2 of 3. Let's see. Save again. Okay, there's actually a syntax error because this gather horizontal is not inside of the calcul function. So let's add here a parenthesis and add one more right here. Let's save and see how it looks like right now. Done. Next, let's define the 2 of 4. We have to copy this and say 2 of 4. We don't have to change many things here. We still keep 2 times, 100%, minus we have to remove 3 times the gather, divided by 4, and keep that gather also. And we can see 3 of 4 also. Let's put here 3 of 4 calculus function. We have 3 times 100% minus 3 times the gather. We have to divide by 4 and put 2 times our gather. Nice. And let me find a place to put the 3 of 4. I'm gonna duplicate this one, say 3 of 4 and 1 of 4. All added becomes 4 of 4. So let's see how it looks like right now. Okay, I have to save this main file. Let me see. Okay, it had a problem while refreshing. Now I should see everything going on. Windows 3, and I can't even have any of them. So what did happen here? Okay, actually I don't see the grid right here. Let me save. I have removed it without noticing. Save it again and save right here. Nice, all is here. Fortunately, there are many frameworks that make this for us so easy to work with, but I want you to really have this mindset of playing around with some calculus and understanding how the grid works behind the scene. Now you can use the CSS grid, which is much faster and is becoming very used in these days, and I personally like to use CSS grid. And you can lay out your elements.